All right, Song of Solomon, chapter 8, our final chapter. Let's call this one Stir. In this chapter that begins with the beloved, actually talking about her beloved, which we will see named at the end of the chapter as Solomon. Understanding that, we will start with a familiar pattern where she talks about the ways in which she adores her beloved and wishes for other opportunities to have been able to be with him publicly before the time that they were permitted to be together. Understanding that this chapter is going to use a bunch of strange metaphors that I'm not even going to pretend I understand, but as the old song we used to sing in some of the southern churches goes, we will understand it better by and by. So I want to use a preacher hack, another preacher hack, to say that there are times in a confusing passage where if you stick with what you know, God willing, he will give you the opportunity to understand more by and by. But for today, let us simply start with the way in which she goes back to a familiar theme that she will mention in verse 4, where she says to essentially the daughters of Jerusalem, I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, that you not stir up or awaken love until it pleases. Something she has already adjured them back in chapter 2, likewise in chapter 3, and in a slightly different form, I think back in chapter 5 as well, reminding me of the fact that even if I don't literally understand what's going on here, I do understand that concept of not getting your hopes up. And even in a situation where she is betrothed, there is still a level of discipline that she has to endure that she does not want disturbed by getting her hopes up too soon. Reminding me of something we saw all the way back in the life of Moses, when after the disappointment of not being the hero that he thought he would for Israel early in life, he went on to live as a shepherd in Midian, only to see the burning bush reawaken desires that he had probably put past him and didn't necessarily want to be awakened again. And so when he got that call, it wasn't met with, oh, I'm ready to be the hero now in my advanced years. He was just content to be a shepherd, not necessarily wanting to be the hero of Israel anymore. And so likewise, this young woman, even though she is betrothed to a great man, she does not necessarily want to have her hopes stirred before the proper time. And so one last time in chapter 8, she is again saying, I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, that you not stir up or awaken love until it pleases. The good news is it's almost time. And so in the second half of the chapter, running roughly from verses 8 on through verse 14, we're going to see a mix of conversation from all of our characters, or a mix of conversations from all of our characters, the others, the beloved, and of course, a short statement from Solomon himself. The others are going to tell a story that seems like it's alluding to the bride here in Song of Solomon by saying they had a sister, and at the time of her betrothal, they're asking, what should we do for her? And depending upon the condition they find her in at the time of her betrothal, they're going to build some kind of defense around her. And as the chapter goes on and the bride speaks, that defense will be lowered for Solomon. Understanding that toward the end, verse 10 is going to read that even though she was as a wall in Solomon's eyes, she was as one who finds peace, with a footnote in the ESV that says she also might have been as one who brings peace. Going back to that familiar theme that we have seen throughout the Song of Solomon, that beyond her beauty, the peace that she has brought to Solomon's life may be the fixture of what has actually kept him captive.